When are we ever gonna get a WrestleMania in Wembley? We are looking at 1992 SummerSlam taking place in London, England at the Wembley Stadium. One of the most popular shows ever, simply for the fact that it took place at the Wembley Stadium, and it was an interesting show nonetheless. I don't think it was the greatest of all time, but it's definitely an important show nonetheless. I think AEW pulled off two better shows than this one. But come on, it's a different time. But I was still very happy and satisfied with what we got. It was a pre-taped SummerSlam, and luckily around this time, spoilers were very hard to give away. So there was that goodness. So luckily we didn't have like the internet like we have today, where things would be spoiled and stuff. But we could still do a live show at the Wembley Stadium. I think because their deal with AEW, we will never get a SummerSlam. I'm wearing the John Cena hat because he was the first one to suggest that we have a WrestleMania in London, because that crowd is amazing. This really revolutionized the way we see the London crowd, and hopefully down the road they decide to listen to the people and give us that show. Maybe once AEW decides to be nice enough to give us the Wembley Stadium, they'll do it. But anyways, let's just talk about this show, because overall I thought I had a good time, but there was a lot of meh. And keep in mind, some of these matches, while they did appear, they were never taped for the actual showcase of the event. Because there was a total of 11 matches, but out of those 11, 3 were cut off. So to many people, the opening match was the Legion of Doom versus Money Inc., IRS, and Ted DiBiase. A very fun match. This was unfortunate because I think there was a lot of drama between the LOD with Animal and Hawk being on drugs and stuff. So the rumor was that they were almost not even gonna make it to the event. They got stuck in London afterwards. Um, Regardless of all of that, this was still a fun match to watch, and it really showed you that Ted DiBiase and IRS were actually a really solid tag team. I really liked Money Inc. They were great heels, and they managed to pull off a really good match with the Legion of Doom. They are one of the greatest tag teams of all time, so can you really blame them? So Virgil went from beating Ted DiBiase for the $1 million championship to getting squashed by Nails. This prisoner character that was supposed to go on and do bigger and better things, but they never did because the character gimmick looked just so ridiculous. And luckily, they went nowhere with Nails because he looked lame. And unfortunately, Virgil did have to uh, lose this match. But yeah, this was very disappointing for Virgil. Rick Martel and Shawn Michaels with Sensational Sherry basically essentially being the prize, because both men were into Sensational Sherry. Sensational Sherry had a really nice outfit. I'll just say that. But basically, both men are fighting for her attention. Eventually, it leads to like Sherry passing out. Both men getting counted out, and then they beat the crap out of each other throughout the match. I think the match itself was okay. The double countout was a little bit unnecessary. This could have been a nice way to end in a DQ. You could have had Rick Martel win by DQ because Shawn Michaels beat the crap out of him or something. The double countout was a little ridiculous, and then the aftermath of both men fighting each other was better. This was probably the most interesting part of the match, was the aftermath of both men just beating the crap at each other right after. But it was still a very fun and entertaining match. You can't really go wrong. This was the early stages of a single star Shawn Michaels. We still weren't getting the Heartbreak Kid like we know and love today. The WWF Tag Team Championships, the Natural Disasters defended their belts against the Beverly Brothers. And this was fine. I really liked the Natural Disasters, even though they were just two big, meaty men just squashing everybody. And the Beverly Brothers were alright. I don't really hate this match. It's okay, but you could tell that LOD and Money Inc. should have been the tag team title match, not this one. Crush defeated the Repo Man, two ex Demolition members now doing this. I was um I was bored. I was just annoyed by this. I didn't like it. I didn't care for it. I just decided to skip it. I think around this time I was making myself a sandwich to get ready for the big match, which was Ultimate Warrior and the Macho Man Randy Savage, the rematch from WrestleMania 7. It makes sense for these guys to have a match. Basically, the man who retired, um, you know, Randy Savage getting revenge for being retired by the Ultimate Warrior. He's the WWF champion. This was a good match up until the ending, where I feel like the tension of who's going to be the manager of Ric Flair or Mr. Perfect, that took up a lot of the story, and it could have just been Warrior and Savage one-on-one. Uh, like a month later, Ric Flair regains the WWF Championship, wanting to drop it to Bret the Hitman Hart. I personally would have just done um, Savage, Flair 2, or just Warrior Savage, and then have Ric Flair and Mr. Perfect do something else on the show, because how did you have Ric Flair and Mr. Perfect not compete at the Wembley freaking stadium? I mean, they just dropped the ball there. It does. I was a little bit disappointed that it took away from this, but it was still a really solid match for what we got. But yeah, the interference definitely took me a little bit away from it, because we all know that Warrior and Savage can have a classic anytime, and this was further proof of it. As far as this goes, this was supposed to be the main event. Luckily, it wasn't, because we end up having a phenomenal main event. We'll get to that when we get to it. But Undertaker beating Kamala by DQ. There should have just been a clean victory where Undertaker just beats Kamala, because there's a part where Kamala just knocks out Undertaker with a stick. Undertaker gets up and just beats the crap out of him. I don't know why they could have just had Undertaker just win, or make it a no DQ match. Screw it. Because I'm gonna be honest, this match wasn't too bad. I think Undertaker around this time, he only fought other big men. He wasn't into fighting smaller guys just yet. But this was a fun match up until the ending, really. But yeah, I can't really fault it. This was a really good, entertaining match. I think if I didn't like Kamala or The Undertaker, I think I wouldn't have cared as much. But what I do care about is the main event. The Intercontinental Championship match was on the line. They didn't. They wanted the finale with Warrior and Savage, so they needed another main event. Bret Hart said, "Hey, why don't we main event? Bulldog is from London. Why not have this be his crowning achievement?" And sure enough, it was, because you have two families. We basically have people in the same family, basically competing against each other. Bret Hart has already proven that he's one of the greatest single stars of all time. Now it's up to Davey Boy Smith to further prove that. And damn it, they had a classic. To this day, the crowd was hot for it. The entrances were phenomenal. Having Bulldog's wife out there was awesome. And then the finale was just too perfect, where Bret Hart was gonna roll him over, and then Bulldog just sits down, 1, 2, 3, and then he's the Intercontinental Champion. And definitely a surprise ending, and it just further proved that these two are two of the greatest workers of all time. Bulldog having his moment. At the end, they just shake hands, break kayfabe, and they move on to do bigger and better things. But this really was the savior of the show, because I'm gonna be honest, a couple of the stuff in the undercard was a little bit disappointing. The only things I truly enjoyed were the LOD match, Warrior Savage, Rick and Michaels, and to an extent, Michaels and Kamala. Everything else was take it or leave it, essentially. So I will give this show a B, but it's not horrible. I think it's a little overrated, because I think really what people truly remember is that main event, which was one of the greatest main events of all time. But if I'm being honest, all you really care about is the main event. Don't get me wrong, it still doesn't take away the fact that we deserve to have this crowd and this stadium at a WrestleMania. It gotta happen someday. WrestleMania 44, WrestleMania 45, whatever. Let's go. But let's move on to one of the worst SummerSlams of all time, 1993. Wish me luck, people. Take care, everybody.